Ethan loved exploring abandoned places, and on Halloween night, he convinced his friends to sneak into the old Crescent Theatre on the edge of town. The building had been shut down for decades after a fire killed several actors during a Halloween performance. Legend said their spirits still haunted the stage. Ethan laughed it off until he found a trunk backstage filled with rotting costumes and masks. One mask caught his eye, a pale tragedy mask with a frown so deep it looked like the face was melting. Unlike the others, it was untouched by soot or age. Something about it drew him in, daring him to put it on. His friends begged him not to, but he smirked, slipped it over his face, and bowed dramatically. The mask fit too perfectly. It clung like wet clay, molding to his skin. His friends laughed nervously until Ethan began to speak in a deep, trembling voice that wasn't his own. The show must go on. Suddenly, the dusty lobby jack-o'-lanterns, set up years ago by vandals who broke in every Halloween, flickered to life with eerie orange flames. Ethan's friends gasped as the pumpkins glowed brighter, their carved mouths curling wider, their jagged smiles warping into sinister shapes. One pumpkin near the stage reflected Ethan's shadow in its glassy eye, only it wasn't Ethan. The reflection showed a burned actor, mouth gaping, skin melted. The theater lights flickered, though there was no power. The stage curtains groaned open. A faint smell of smoke filled the air. His body moved like a puppet, striding across the stage with eerie grace. The jack-o'-lanterns pulsed in rhythm, their flames flaring with each of his unnatural steps. His friends panicked, trying to pull the mask off, but Ethan pushed them away with strength that wasn't his. His eyes glowed faintly behind the mask's hollow sockets. Suddenly, the old seats filled with shadows, dozens of figures materialized in the audience, charred and smoking, faces half melted from fire. They clapped slowly, chanting in broken voices, "Encore, encore." Ethan screamed from within, but the mask silenced him, making his body bow, dance, and recite lines from plays he had never learned. As he performed, every pumpkin in the theater reflected different versions of his face, sometimes the tragedy mask, sometimes a burned corpse, sometimes a hollow skull. The pumpkins were mirrors of the curse, each showing how completely the mask was consuming him. As midnight neared, Ethan's body convulsed under the mask. His voice cracked into screams, then laughter, then silence. The shadows cheered, their applause thunderous, shaking the decayed ceiling. With one final bow, Ethan's body collapsed onto the stage, limp and broken. The mask rolled free, spotless, gleaming in the dim light. The jack-o'-lanterns all went dark at once, their carved smiles frozen in silence. Weeks later, when vandals broke in again, the pumpkins flickered back to life, this time showing the pale mask sitting neatly in the front row, waiting for someone foolish enough to wear it. It was Halloween night, and Mia still hadn't picked out a costume. She was supposed to be at her best friend Claire's party in less than 2 hours, but she had nothing to wear. In desperation, she ducked into a small, dimly lit thrift store at the end of Main Street. The shop smelled of mothballs and old wood, and there were barely any decorations left, just broken wigs, ripped cloaks, and some plastic pumpkins. As she walked to the back, she saw a mask resting alone on a shelf. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Pale, cracked porcelain painted with wide red lips and hollow black eyes that seemed too deep for just paint. The mask almost looked alive. The old man at the counter warned her with a raspy voice, "That mask doesn't belong to you." But Mia, nervous about being late, brushed it off and paid anyway. At home, she slid it on. The instant the porcelain touched her skin, she felt cold needles press into her face, like the mask had grown tiny teeth that bit into her cheeks. She gasped and tried to take it off, but her fingers wouldn't obey her. Instead, they smoothed the mask against her skin as if sealing it tighter. Her reflection in the mirror showed not her usual brown eyes, but black hollows staring back. Her lips moved, but the mask spoke with its own voice, whispering things she didn't want to hear. "Let me wear you, Mia. Just for tonight." At the party, everyone thought she had the scariest costume. But as the night went on, she lost control. Her body twitched when she tried to dance. Her voice grew deeper, words slipping out that weren't hers. She told Claire's secrets out loud, humiliating her. She whispered dark desires into her friends' ears, planting paranoia and anger. People began arguing, shoving each other, some even crying. Mia screamed inside, but no one could hear her. The mask laughed, feeding on the chaos. When Claire finally confronted her, shouting, "Take that thing off," Mia tried, clawing at the porcelain, but her nails only scraped skin beneath. By midnight, the party had collapsed into violence, glass shattered, blood dripped on the carpet, and friends turned on one another. Claire tried to pull Mia into the bathroom to help, but when she did, the mask twisted its lips into a grin and said, "She doesn't live here anymore." Claire froze in horror. The eyes behind the mask weren't Mia's, they were ancient, hungry, endless. The last thing Mia remembered before her world went black was her own reflection, trapped behind the porcelain, banging against the glass, screaming silently as the mask wore her body like a costume. And when the police arrived the next morning, Mia was gone. All they found in the wreckage was the mask lying alone in the bathroom sink, clean, polished, waiting for its next owner. On Halloween night in a quiet rural town, 16-year-old Lila found a package on her doorstep. It was wrapped in black cloth and tied with twine, no return address. Inside was a mask, smooth, white, with faint carvings that looked like veins. At first, she thought it was made of plaster, but when she touched it, the surface was warm, almost like skin. A note tucked inside read, "Wear me and see your true self." Lila, curious and defiant, put the mask on before heading to a bonfire party in the woods. The moment it touched her skin, the world sharpened. She could hear whispers in the trees, taste fear in the air, feel the heartbeats of people around her. When she looked at her friends gathered around the fire, their carved pumpkins, meant for decoration, seemed to flicker unnaturally. Each jack-o'-lantern no longer showed smiling, goofy faces, but hollow reflections of her own mask staring back. She stumbled, horrified, as the pumpkin flames pulsed in unison with her breathing. When she looked at her friends, their faces warped. Some appeared with hollow sockets, as if already corpses. Others looked like grinning skeletons, their flesh sliding off. Terrified, she tried to remove the mask, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, telling her secrets about each person, dark secrets no one else knew. As she shouted them aloud, her voice echoed through the clearing, and the pumpkins brightened, reflecting her twisted skull-like mask in their jagged eyes and mouths. The bonfire raged higher, sparks flying into the night. The jack-o'-lanterns swelled and cracked, their carved grins splitting wider until they looked like screaming skulls, each one mirroring Lila's distorted reflection. Friends screamed, accused one another, and fled into the trees. Some claimed later that they saw their own deaths inside the pumpkin flames, burning, drowning, or hanging, while Lila's masked face laughed at them from every glowing surface. She begged the mask to release her, but it whispered, "You wanted truth. Now you are truth." Her reflection in a particularly large pumpkin showed not her own face, but a bone mask fused to her skull, her eyes hollow voids. By midnight, the fire dimmed, the forest fell silent, and the pumpkins extinguished all at once, leaving only smoke. Lila collapsed, clawing at her face, until the mask loosened and slid free. When she looked at it in the dirt, she realized it wasn't plaster, but carved bone, polished smooth. She tried to smash it in the dying fire, but the flames bent away from it, and the pumpkins reignited briefly, showing her hollow-eyed reflection one last time. She ran screaming into the woods. The next morning, the sheriff found the fire pit cold. Yet in the ashes sat the bone mask, untouched, and every pumpkin face reflected the same haunting truth, Lila's wide, hollow eyes staring back from the darkness, waiting to be seen again.